Here I was trying to sketch out. I'm not sure if I love this, but I was trying to sketch out the Lucha Libre guy, and I was thinking like a brush mustache or a
Oh, wow. Let me get a close up of that. Whoa.
yeah. I think my second
Wow.
thing is going to be better than this first one here, but he's only going to survive for like a page, page two. He's got a
All
two.
right.
He's like a page and a half before he's dead. So.
Good morning, Jake, and welcome to episode 35 of the Making of Turbo Pit Fighter, the comic
Wow,
book.
time flies with
Yeah, I
you,
think
man.
I think we've got this thing rolling now, so I'm pretty excited. So much
Well,
excited that it brought me to a comic book store. I was out of town for a day last week and found myself with a hour or two of time to kill, and I was like, man, I haven't been to a comic book store in a while. Why not just find one? And where I was at, I Google mapped comics, and it was one literally like 2 blocks over from where I was. So I decided to just check it out, see what the landscape's like in a comic book store, because it's been years since I've been in one. And of course,
yeah.
it was a it was a great comic book store. Showcase Comics up in Bryn Mawr, Pennsylvania. Shout out to them. But nothing startling. I did walk some time through um, all the new stuff and, checking out all the covers and everything like that. Nothing really caught my eye, but hit the bins, the dollar, the back issue bins, I guess I should call them.
Yeah.
And of course, they had a case and a half, a long box and a half of Independence. So I was like, let me just see what's there. I was not expecting to buy anything. And right out of the gate, I have been
What'd you
looking
find?
for this. This is Art Khan. So
What what is that?
this is scalable sword and sorcery. So all those Filipino artists like Alfredo Akala and Nestor and all those, this
Romeo,
is
yeah.
Frank Reyes. And Frank Reyes did not really do a lot in American comics, but he did do a lot over in the Philippines as comics go. This has always been on my short list of if I'm at shows and I go through the independents, to give it a find. Never really came across it. I also had to pay a couple bucks for it, so it wasn't like it was a quarter or a dollar or anything like that. I think it was
Hmm.
$4. But of course, then that got the juices flowing. So as I keep this is some great stuff. I just, as an inker, and somebody who just loves black and white comic books more than anything else in comics, this is candy. This is food. This is all the good stuff that I look for. And
Yeah, all you budding artists out there, look at the way. I mean, there's great light and dark balance. Like
oh yeah,
he studied the Byrne Hogarth books, but also he's moving from light to dark to light to dark. He's layering things so that something could be a knockout white or a black silhouette or anything in between. Great stuff.
and those guys were really famous for using ink wash for gray values and like crayon, black crayon, and pencil at times too.
Yeah, no,
So
the ink wash sometimes didn't print as well.
it would
That
wash out.
yeah, sometimes it could go really light, sometimes it could go
Right,
really dark, and everything in between. So that was a little bit. I mean, the reason why we use India ink in comics is to get a reliably dark reproduction of
right,
all your inks, right?
right,
Right? And
right,
so
right.
whenever you use like anything, I mean, nowadays, the printing methods are more sensitive, but and then you have Photoshop or you could retouch anything, beforehand. But in those days, printing presses, oven temperatures would vary, and you would get splotches, or you would get like completely whited out areas, and it was unpredictable until you got the thing back in your hand from the printer, and by that time they were already all over the newsstands, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, there's a lot of learning in that curve back then. Nowadays, obviously with technology, we're able to get more of an instant reaction to what's being done. And most people are buying comics, or I should say, are reading comics, virtually online. So, if you're making it digitally and it's being viewed digitally, you're not getting that much loss out of it, unless you're paranoid and you want the DPI rate to be at 72 for a 500 by 700 know
Look at
JPEG.
this. Look at this. I was just flipping through this old
Oh,
Starburst,
nice. Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
look, you can't see anything here, right?
yeah,
This is
yeah,
all washed out,
yeah.
and then they have the color plates here, where it's a lot more reliable because your colors all add up.
Right.
But that's just how it worked back in those days. Like, anything. I remember hearing that they said, like, anything under 10-15% tint, you might as well assume it's zero, because it's hard to control, the process as it goes down the line. You got the paper may vary, the ink may vary, the pressure on the press may vary,
Mm,
and all those things we don't have to worry about anymore nowadays,
yeah.
because now everything's digital press.
But it does add to black and white comics that were printed on on a press back all the way through the 90s, where there is this this different. Ooh, I lost my camera there for a second.
You know,
Yeah, the it just that exact same thing, that kind of lost the graininess, the grittiness, and I absorb that, and like I've said in the past, I lean towards that in my work in inking. I don't want it to be crystal clear and crisp lines, and I'm just not, I'm very opposed to that as an aesthetic, as an artist personally. So being able to find these things and then kind of think, well, how I could do an ink wash, but maybe I've been playing around with the what are those these guys here, these graphite sticks.
oh
And
yeah,
so I sent you one just to play around, but it's got a really grainy value, much that you would kind of get right here replicated from black and white being printed on newsprint. So,
right,
but moving along, I got to the D's,
okay.
and the D's brought me Dragon Quest. So
Now,
this
now,
is a
if they
Silver Wolf, huh?
if they alphabetize, that means the stuff has probably been picked by then, right?
Yeah,
It is
yeah. Like I said, I was not hopeful, but I got five decent pieces. So I got Dragon Quest 1 and 2,
and
and this
is
is
that
Vigil.
that's
This is
Tim
Tim
Mitchell, yeah.
Vigil. This is Silver Wolf, Tim Vigil, and getting back to that whole like cross hatching, spotting blacks. This is the master right here. And
He's one of them.
yeah, this is Indicia is 1986. So he's
Ooh,
still trying to get his chops, he's doing work. I love
wow,
this panel. I love this panel. This is and it's got the skull and the eyeball, but this is where he
yeah,
starts really. This is what he brings to the black and white indie game, is this these extreme close-ups. There's so much, but it's just
yeah. I
yeah.
haven't seen that before.
Yeah, I actually did not register it. I think I had it on one of my lists for pools, but this is just anytime you see uh, a Tim Vigil, I mean, you got to pick it up. I mean, this is a great panel right here, this dragon.
Yeah, big panels there,
Yeah,
right?
but look at
Quarter
this. Look at the so there
quarter
seems
pan,
to be yeah, there seems to be some kind of like just different size in
right?
and it wasn't done 11 by 17 or whatever on copy paper, comic book paper and stuff. So that was those two, which makes three. And
So
then,
that's early Tim Vigil, right?
yeah, yeah. And then I've been watching and following the Power Comics channel. And then when I got to P, it was actually N. I got to this Night Witch, and I saw Power Comics. I was like, ooh, man, I got to really start concentrating here. Um, and then this is 1977. And this reminds me a lot of like that Bernie Steele Armageddon, um, and like a heavy amount. You'll see it more in this copy, this copy, like a real Starlin. Just somebody really obsessing over Starlin, and of course the black and whites, in magazines, War and Creepy, Savage Sword.
Right. Yeah, those
So,
that's great art.
so I was
Great art.
pretty darn happy, and it helped me kill my um,
Black and
hour of
white.
just thing. Yeah, a lot stippling.
Black and white indie.
Anytime I started seeing stippling, you're like, ooh, okay, someone's getting really serious here. So
Right.
and this one's a thick boy. This is 75 cents. Also 1977. Three stories. Um, Dave Sim. I don't know if it's him just writing or yeah, it's called A Boy and His Aardvark.
Oh boy.
So yeah,
It
so
was
there was a Dave Sim. I would say that it looks like, really early um what do you call it? My camera's acting. I'm just
that's
gonna
pre
jump out a
pre
second.
pre-service aardvark content.
Yeah, yeah, yep. So this was obviously a must have. Um, he brought a lot of humor, serious. I don't know if this guy is supposed to look like Roy Thomas or not, but I haven't actually sat down and got to this one. Um,
Right.
but
So
yeah,
you
Sim and Friel.
so
So
how much
this
did
it
you
might have been take
how much did you
30
spend before?
bucks.
Oh, that's
30
that's
bucks on five. Yeah, it
not
wasn't that
bad.
bad at all. It wasn't that bad at all.
Got off
Very
easy.
it was so much that I was flipping through them this morning beforehand, and as a warm up, I did just a little freestyle of Eric
Oh yeah, I
coming.
see that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just like I got a lot more. I got a lot more I want to kind of noodle around with it, but this is just me warming up and getting my variations in line weight going and stuff. So,
Right.
but that's what I have to share.
Yeah, maybe one day we should do like a mini episode on all the Filipino artists and the Alfredo Alcalas of the world because
Ooh.
my favorite was Rudy Nebres, but
Yes.
there's so many good ones. We should do just like an accounting of them. Like Romeo Tangal was another one, right? Um,
Yeah, there's a great history to it too. There's some good reads. I don't know if there's any YouTube video stuff, but there's some really good reads out there on those guys. But the short of it was that they were so inexpensive in
right.
page rate because of the cost of living in the Philippines, yet they had a thriving comic book industry.
Mm,
So they were towing a line of a whole and it wasn't only just like fantasy or horror and stuff. It was romance, historical, Indonesian historic, excuse me, Filipino historical stuff and everything. So really, really great
Yeah, they
for
probably had
that.
the Asian influence long before we did with the Singapore stuff and the Hong Kong stuff and the
Hmm.
Indonesian stuff. Yeah. Yeah. Well, stay tuned for that sometime.
Yeah, yeah. We'll add it to the list of what we want to
Yeah,
keep.
sometime in the future. I also have to remind our audience that the last time I went to a or a bookstore, I went to the Strand and I went to Forbidden Planet down in the city, and we haven't even begun to go over this. We have all these that I picked up that we'll be going over in future issues as soon as I read them and kind of like you know internalize whatever messages they have. But a lot of good stuff coming up on this channel. As we draw, Turbo Pit Fighter number two, and we ink issue number one.
Yep.
Um, right now, as we spoke about in previous episodes, I am uh, rendering this montage, which is going to have this is going to be splash page number one of Turbo Pit Fighter number two, and it's going to have young Turbo with nowadays Turbo, current Turbo, old Turbo. I don't want to call it old Turbo. It sounds like
Yeah. So
it sounds wrong, but we're going to just do a little bit of explaining here just to catch people up where we're at, and then the story will unfold beginning with the checkpoint scene. So we go one thing at a time here, and I think I just lost my pencil, so I'll grab a different one. Um, yeah, I was procrastinating on this page because this is what happens to comic book addicts like us. We say, "Oh, you know what? I'm doing a montage," and that reminds me of my favorite montages. And then we spoke about the Master Kung Fu montages, and let me go look at some of those to get my inspiration, to get my juices going. And then you get like sidetracked, and you never get any drawing done. So, so we
yeah,
could.
it's the hazard of being involved in comics.
Yeah, because you're always like, well, maybe I need some ideas for this montage. No, you don't need any. You have your own ideas. But just
Yeah,
put them
exactly.
on the paper, right? Let's go. And that's why it's good that we have this hour every week or 45 minutes every week, whatever we're doing now. But yeah, we're going to hopefully be wrapping up this book within a couple of weeks or months, I guess months,
Yeah.
and then printing it. So, depending when you're listening to this, we may or may not have an actual printed comic available. Once they're printed, you'll be able to buy them, you can order them. I don't know how distribution will work, but maybe they'll be listed on Amazon. What's the nowadays distribution methods for
Oh my,
in
it's all over the place. I mean, I would not do Comixology. I did Comixology, which is Amazon's
right?
game. You know, I'm just going to say right now, that's going to be a huge crossroad for us to cross. You know, we got to sit down and really kind of review. I have had some experience. Um, you know, I probably have sold more books at shows, but the cost of doing a show was always outweighing the profitability of continually doing shows. You
Yeah,
know, because
you got to
definitely,
do those. You got to do those sketch requests if you want to make money at
uh,
shows.
uh,
But
um,
just so people have an idea, the Saratoga show, which is coming up, I think November 11th, 12th, whatever that weekend is. They said it was 135 a table. That sounded pretty, you know, reasonable. And then you got to spend probably $30 in gas and food and everything. And
30
maybe
bucks. What is
well,
this? 1972?
what, going up to Saratoga from here? You think it'd be okay? Well, let's say $50.
That's
Well,
lunch for me. 30 bucks is lunch for me.
if you stay, well, you gotta have lunch. You gotta have lunch either way. But if you're gonna stay over a night,
Yeah, yeah.
in a place, so that's why I would probably just do like one day. I'd probably just do a Saturday.
How far is that
Um,
from you?
yeah, Saratoga probably like a good 4 or 5 hours. I don't know. I haven't looked it up, but I'm down in New York City area. I'm right outside the city here, so I would give it a spin once we had our comic to sell because then you're doing a little promotion. You're making some point of purchase sales where people don't have to pay for shipping. Sometimes shipping is more than the actual cost of the comic, so it's always great when you just go to a comic convention and you just buy all these comics that you like without paying any shipping, right?
Yeah, well, I think the other thing too is that you know, I would sell a dozen or more issues at a show, but they were always being bought with the same reaction. Like they would. see my table and my work, and I'd have originals hanging out and stuff. And immediately they would say the same thing. Oh man, this is like the black and white Conans, love them, man, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
And, and I had a couple of issues of work. And then, so I was like just doing a bundle of like, I think it was like $20 or something for all three issues and everything. And, I heard a lot of people saying things like, I'm a completist, so just make sure you give me everything that you have, because, I don't
Yeah.
want to be without and everything. So, there are people that are hitting the show, that are not only, Marvel, DC, movie fanatics and stuff, but, they're like us, having come from the limited amount of books out there to purchase back in the day. You're waiting for your favorite comic and you keep showing up at the store and you see something like, Savage Sword of Conan as a magazine, then you were picking it up.
Yeah. People like what they like. There's plenty of sword and sorcery out there. I think Red Sonja is a hot property these days because it's not just Marvel anymore. You have a lot of people taking a crack at it, and same thing goes for all of the Robert E. Howard stuff, right?
Right.
And people are dressing up, having fun. It's Halloween season, so it would probably be a pretty fun time down there, but I don't know if I don't think I'm gonna be able to go. Uh, so there's always more conventions. There's always regional conventions. I heard about the Brooklyn Con, and there's these guys in the Bronx doing these like smaller conventions. They rent a hall and they have booths and vendors, and I think this week or next week they have a cosplay festival happening so in the Bronx. So there's always stuff, to go out there and promote and sell stuff. But we need to finish, so we're here burning the midnight oil so we can have something in our hand. Once we have a comic, to sell, then we can remind people at that time, oh, there's all these episodes online. Come see the making of, and we discuss all this cool stuff, and we do all these breakout videos and all that. So that's what we're here for. We're here, this is us making the content now, and I just realized that right here I'm gonna have the burning orphanage. But I have to design the building now of the orphanage, right?
Well, is
Because
it like a church?
well, I wanted it to be this spire that opens up into like a flower opens up, or like maybe like one of these like pyramids with these planes on it. So it'll open up like I'm thinking of like a Venus flytrap or some kind of like flower that opens up and then it becomes like a star shape. So I guess I'll have that here, yeah, and we can use some uh, what do you call it? Overlapping, right, to go into the letters purposely. But this thing is going to be on fire, and maybe I'm making the cross too big. So yeah, you know, do I draw this right on the paper? Do I need to go get a piece of scrap paper right now? I'm designing something that's going to be in multiple scenes because when the um, nuns all break out, when they all, go out to do battle with the RM, this thing's going to open up and there's going to be five different platforms in five different areas, where they're all in garters and machine gun. Oh, um, not actually machine guns, but whatever the gun of the day is, they are going to,
Crossbows.
yeah, right, and they're going to be, you know, uh, trying to defend that way. I don't know, that'll just be like a visual, but we'll have this whole thing on fire here, and of course this will also just be symbolism because the orphanage doesn't burn until it's blown up, So this is just kind of metaphorical, I guess. But right now, yeah, see, this is process. I'm roughing things out. They might change. People might notice that I erased and redrew the face here and the nose and the proportions a couple of times. I might still do that again, just to get it the way you want. But um, yeah, we're here drawing. So what else is going on? I have something to show. We had our gig on Friday night. That went okay. Um, and I showed people the poster. So I wanted to ask you, I guess I'll ask you live. Do you want me to send you? I have in stop motion animation the making of this. If you want, I could send that to you. Does that make any sense to send to you for any content for our channel, or should I put that on something else like my personal Instagram?
Yeah, I'd hold that for your personal,
Okay.
because I do a lot of different things on my own as well, but I definitely chuck it up on my personal. Um,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's good to see people. It's good for people to see what kind of art we do in our other endeavors because there's a lot of different artists that do comics and they do other things as well, such as waiting tables. But these are the kind of drawings that I just do when I'm free, like in a meeting or something, killing time. I don't have too
well,
many
there's
people.
also the it's the illustration thing, it's the field of illustration,
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
remember when like mid 90s, Savannah School of the Arts did they really ramped up a sequential art, um, curriculum, and they even had and they probably even still do a master's degree in sequential art. So, um, but the if you're going to school, the curriculum most definitely is providing you with tools in order for you to be an illustrator, because comics are one viable way of getting some cash for your talents. But to be able to do exactly what you just did for the Von Ghoul's um, you know, poster
Yeah.
there, that's and I don't know about you, but I'm constantly being asked to draw me this, draw me that, can you draw me this, can you draw me that?
Yeah, I know. When I do my posters for the bands, all the other bands ask, can I do them a poster and all that? And
Sure,
I'm
I
like, I
bet.
barely have time to make my own
Yeah.
especially on deadlines, because sometimes a venue is like, okay, we finally got the lineup together. Now we have like a week and a half before,
Yeah.
the um. Here I was trying to sketch out. I'm not sure if I love this, but I was trying to sketch out the Lucha Libre guy, and I was thinking like a brush mustache or a
Oh, wow. Let me get a close up of that. Whoa.
yeah. I think my second
Wow.
thing is going to be better than this first one here. But he's only going to survive for like a page, page two. He's got a
All
two.
right.
He's like a page and a half before he's dead. So how much time do you spend? How much time do you invest on like on a straw man character? Um, but yeah,
A
I was
lot.
just yeah.
A lot of time.
Well, yeah, because any one of these characters could be our next T-shirt design, right?
Well, I just think, if the character is holding his or her own in the divisiveness of the story, then, I'm not saying you got to spend years, but, if it comes across as a
Well, see, the good thing about the
deeply
good
resolving character.
yeah, the good thing about our story though is that if even if you're killing them off, within a couple of panels, where there's always flashback, and you could always do
Yeah.
something. You could always prequel it, right?
You can always bring them back from the dead too. You got the zombie book,
Mm,
that'll be a big seller.
yeah, I don't know about that. Yeah, I don't know about that. I know it sells, but I don't know. Um, yeah, so there was a lucha libre guy, and then when I was in the city last weekend, and I finished early, so I started doing this sketch. when I was just cooling out in Washington Square Park, and everybody should go to Washington Square Park and sketch. It's a lot of good people watching there, and it's a famous New York City landmark. So I just wanted to give a second to show that. Um, we I pulled after our last episode. I pulled a couple of Master Kung Fu's. This is all I could find, so I'm thinking I might have more in the garage. And I also have my Command 11 queued up for our next episode. But I came across a couple of comics here that are like the golden days of Master Kung Fu. Look at this montage,
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah.
right?
I
So
saw that when I was looking for, you know,
right, so here's like Master Kung Fu, who is modeled after Bruce Lee, and then all the characters. This is Blackjack Tar and Clive Reston, who's modeled after James Bond. And these are characters from the Sax Rohmer. See here, featuring characters by Sax Rohmer's Fu Manchu franchise. And a little preview of the action you're going to see, like, military dudes with tanks and explosions. And then the chick here with the cat of nine tails, I think they call her the cat. And she's on the cover of the. Well, here she is. She looks a little different because Gil Kane was doing this instead of right. Paul Galassi had her hair up. So these are little things that kind of get lost in translation. Like I think this would have been a better cover than this, but Gil Kane was there like he was just a machine with Adkins on inks, um, and you don't really mind having Gil Kane. So that was the one montage I saw, and the first one I pulled out was this. And this, oh yeah, so this one doesn't. This is kind of like a montage, but this is later in the series after Galassi is off the penciling chores, and you have um they only have his last name, Craig. I forget his first name, but he was an interesting artist, very super detailed. He put a lot on the page, but he was no Paul Galassi. Paul Galassi stuff was a lot more graceful. But he was there. What was the guy's first name? I forget. So I'm doing my montage here, and you can see it's already starting to fill in. It's starting to build up here. We have the title here. We have some room for some dialogue here, and I don't know if I'm going to put that in a word balloon. I'm probably going to put that like in a scroll or just a next box, caption box. Um, we have the orphanage here burning, and um, and then I have Young Turbo here, and I was referencing this old picture from issue one, which was page one, issue one, where Young Turbo's face is splattered with her father's blood right off the bat. That's as soon as we meet, like this is like baby Young Turbo. I think she's only supposed to be like 10 or 11 here. But you can see, like, I don't know if I planned this, but she looks like she gets older just like in this instant where her father is killed. But or no, maybe I'm smart. Okay. So I think this is like a transition to later. I don't know. Is this right then and there? I don't know. I also just noticed that this Photoshop thing is a little off. Yeah, see, I can see a seam there, but um yeah, so I'm gonna be having Young Turbo here with her face splattered with blood because this is gonna be like the day that she shows up at the orphanage, and she's upset and she's covered with blood and it's all icky, but at this point it's not just her blood, it's her father's blood. It's all the blood of the people that she's killed. So yeah, working on that montage, and we're cruising along. One other thing I wanted to show you, I was going through my boxes, and this comic here?
I can't move it over just a little bit more. Doomsday #1. No,
Yeah,
I
so
might have
this is
seen it, but it's not ringing a bell. Looks a
okay.
lot
So
from. It looks awful familiar
yeah, so this was
though.
this was Charlton Comics, right? Which is where you go if you can't get work with Marvel. And this is one of John Byrne's first real gigs.
Wow.
Charlton Publications, 1975. So this is right before he's about to jump in and take over X-Men maybe a year or two before. Or no, no, yeah, because Cockrum. So that when Cockrum and Claremont were doing the X-Men, this is minus Doomsday plus one, and it
Wow.
doesn't have any credits here, but this is very early John Byrne. It looks like he might even be working with marker rather than pen and ink because it's a kind of like, you know, not very clean. He might be doing his own inks here. This is just sci-fi stuff, and I don't know if this is valuable or not, but look at early John Byrne, and he was great. Sometimes on these downward angles, his faces are a little compressed. Um, they're exploring in the ice, and here's you got the mastodon continued, right? These are some characters, some faces that we see him do. He was always just a natural, but here he is, kind of like shortcutting stuff, right? Like, look at this. This is like a little bit clumsy. Um, and yeah, this looks like the Black Widow here a little bit.
Yeah, yeah, I was just gonna make that.
Here's a saber-toothed tiger, um,
I'm
right?
sure once that book got out, though, he did these things on purpose, so, Marvel would see him and say, "Hey, who's this guy? Let's get him
Yeah,
on a book."
yeah,
I mean, he was just telling a line for himself.
he was definitely trying out. So yeah, this is so why am I bringing this up? Because in this story, the very beginning, they're obliterating Moscow with nuclear missiles. And so this is kind of like a post-apocalyptic world that we land in. The thing is, I can't get any credits here. Yeah, I don't see any. I don't even see a signature. And when we're talking about our Commandy series, seeing the Statue of Liberty in ruins on the front cover is kind of reminiscent. So yeah, we never do get the credits here, so I don't know who wrote this. I don't know if Byrne is inking his own thing, and I also don't know what it's worth because I didn't bother to look it up. But this was a very early effort as we dot the landscape of great Marvel contributors, Marvel and DC, but professional distributors. I got this for $1, so I don't know when that was, but you know, just a little more show and tell. We can't help doing show and tell. We're such addicts. We do it. We draw a little bit, and then we do the show and tell. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Unless you want to talk about where we're gonna go for some plot stuff, maybe we could save that for another episode.
Yeah, we're at, well, we're at 37. I mean, we've still got another 10 minutes or so. But yeah, I'm on page 19.
Okay,
I actually took some time today and did just some inventory of my pages, and I think I would like to do maybe a flip through episode. We're definitely going to do one once all 28 pages are 80 to 85% inked by me.
right,
And then, of course, you can have some printouts with yourself, and then I can receive some critique,
right.
from that and everything. But
Yeah, no
yeah, I
scribble
mean,
scrabble. No
I'm
scribble.
scribble
No
scrabble.
scribbles, no scribbles. That's what I tell my students. No scribble scrabble. No.
What's scribble scrabble? What do you mean by that? Define that.
Well, when I teach my students how to do shading, right, I call it the comb technique, right, and I'm like, you always do slightly curvy lines that are
Right,
separated. Take the time to separate
right.
it. And when I see kids do this,
Yeah.
y- I say you can only do that with yellow because you don't really see the yellow when you're mixing colors, right? Because I would be a hypocrite if I said I never did that, but never do that with the dark colors, or black, and so that's one of my pet peeves is no scribble scrabble. I have a
Yeah, there's definitely there's an appearance, there's a definite difference the fastness of it, I think, is, there's a quickness to that line that makes, even to a point, dismissive. So when you see something, it's not that it's amateur or anything. It just, oh, this is just very quick, dashed out, and then it sort of just gets, dismissed. Where if there's, I guess, a little bit more rendering in there.
Right.
Um,
Right. And sometimes, I mean, sometimes it's okay to use if you're, if you're just doing a preliminary sketch. I mean, right now I just use Scribble Scrabble right here, but there's also, I mean, we should like nuance this. There's Scribble Scrabble, which is like sloppy and quick. There's also like, very, controlled, I guess, zigzags, and that there's a big difference between zigzagging with pointy points versus this kind of like sloppy scribble. So, um, you know, we I actually teach, I'm doing it now in the hair. Actually teach, the zigzagging on purpose where it's pointy and it's connected, it's contiguous line, right?
Contiguous.
But yeah, I mean, if you're inking, um, and you're doing like a hatching strokes, yeah, they're separated lines, pick up the pen in between, um, and if you're not doing, that, then hopefully it would be pointy zigzags rather than, rounded edges, scribble scrabble, because I don't even know, like if it's a brush, you don't even have a choice because a brush doesn't curve around, like that. But
Well, to get a little nerdy about line, because when I
yes,
teach, I kind of bring up a similar type of thing. Visual language, like that's communication arts. These are other terms that have been used in art school, to sell their curriculum to get people to come in. I was specifically, brought up in my schooling, um, to really, really consider the direction of the mark, the the different weights of the mark, and really explore the um, the language that's there. So when you're dashing it out or scribble scrabbling, um, once again, it's just a hastiness. It's just something that people will then visually skip over. But if you're creating like a density, like just to kind of show off this, you can look in the back of that wall to her head, even in the game. And that's where the rest of my time is going to be spent, is creating a very well defined language about the difference between the figure, the walls, the background, things being, even the word balloons and stuff. Um, it might appear like I'm doing a lot of extra work, but I'm hoping that that translation will be a lot in the way of subconsciousness, where you're just thoroughly enjoying the art, the storytelling, but you're getting it, like it's coming across. So
yeah, I mean, there's definitely, a wide variance of, line type, in the comic book realm. I think of Joe Kubert as
oh,
somebody who's got
yeah,
very loose and sketchy lines, but it comes off, it works great. And then someone like Paul Galassi, who's got very controlled. No, this is great. And so, like Paul Galassi, who's got very controlled lines, right, and very neat lines. You can tell, that when he's doing backgrounds and stuff, and mechanical stuff, he even uses like, it seems like rapidograph, to get all those lines, and which are drafting tools, right? Like this, right? There's nothing scratchy here. There's symmetry here, right? He's super neat, like maybe even OCD, kind of guy. Um, you know, and his lines are very controlled and contained. Here you can see he's even using like some Asian art influences, right? The, like the silhouettes. But you know, if you have your style, okay. I mean, I think like maybe Mark Teixeira was also like a kind of like a little looser, scratchy, but also very good, forms and anatomy and, recognizable style. Like what are some other examples that come to mind of somebody who's got a very loose, scratchy style versus, I mean, the neatest guy in history, is Charles Burns, right? That guy, because he's
Yeah.
the one that does those really pointy highlights in the hair. And if you look at it with a magnifying glass, it's like ridiculously sharp points on all the hair. Um, but I'm thinking of like lots of other artists who have graced the pages of comics that they had a loose style, and then when it goes to the inker, it's like, okay, how am I going to approach this? Because the inker is either cleaning it up or he's going with the looseness, right? So
And
he's
being inventive,
yeah, and
I think
sometimes
that's another level where, you're trying to actually bring something once again in the way of language to tell a story.
yeah, because when I gave you those pencils for number one, I had those are double pencils, right? I penciled them
Yeah.
and then I went over them again with a light box to make them tighter. Um, I wasn't even sure if I was going to ink at all. I thought maybe I would just scan the pencils and then use Photoshop to bring out different effects of lightness. I have this thing in Photoshop where I layer like a really sharpened version of the pencils with a purposely blurred layer underneath, and I let the sharpened layer, which is really dark and high contrast, sit over the low contrast layer, which I intentionally blur, and you really get some interesting results when you do that. But instead, I said, no, hell no, let's give this stuff to Kurt and let's ink it so we have a whole other hand, that it's passing through. And this way we can just go to print, the traditional way, and we could do all that other stuff later if there's ever time. But um, you know, uh, how's it for you inking those pencils? Right,
Oh,
those
I I've always liked working off of your stuff. Um,
right here are the
there,
here. This is what the pencils look like when you kind
oh
of
yeah, I mean, yeah,
darken
I
them
can
up.
pull, I keep an 11 by 17.
Oh, good. Yeah,
Um,
you have it even
yeah,
bigger. Right,
yeah, yep,
right.
yep, yep. I mean, yeah.
So in that one, there's not too much like hard decisions to make or refining to do. But when you get this one, issue number two, where we're just trying to cut through, and I'm only doing like the one pass. It's going to look different, and you're going to be inking over some lines, and sometimes it's a little sketchy. Sometimes there's lines that you have to ignore. Some inkers say, "Hey, could you erase all the stray lines before you hand them to me?"
Eh,
There's all different ways of working here. Including
well,
all the letter.
I mean, I've been out of practice for quite a while. And then in the sense of just being on and off with inking and comics and everything. But I predominantly love and enjoy working black and white. But it's also another rationalization that I'm using to not put 100% into each page. So getting up to about 80, 85. I mean, even when I did the inventory of the pages this morning, this is page 19, and I was looking at page 1 and 2, going, "Ooh, okay." Like I'm finding my feet with your pencil lines and my additions and my subtractions and so on and so forth. But in the resolve of my work is white, not white out, but actually bringing in. And I've been exploring different white ballpoint pens.
Oh,
I also use, where are you? Good
wait,
Lord.
you have a white ballpoint pen that's like
Yeah. Oh,
whiteout, white
it's
out.
not like, yeah, it's kind of like white out, but it really, the challenge has been finding the right black ink to have, to go over, you know, um, damn
What
it,
what
oh,
what's
here you
what's the
go.
what's the
There's the
brand of that?
Poscas. Oh, this is Uniball Signo. I use a website called jetpens.com. I'll put a link in the description below. The website is completely devoted to inks. So everything from Japanese sumi ink to speedball ink, ink pens, fountain pens, ballpoint pens, blah, 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 blah. They have videos for each of the products. I mean, they are in depth. They do articles, video. I mean,
How
it's wonderful.
and show us the tip.
And yeah, it's ballpoint.
Yeah, how fine is it?
I would put it up over like a point 0.5. Actually, does it say it? It's in Japanese, so I don't
So it's a
think it
totally
would.
white opaque line.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Would it work on black paper?
yeah. Oh, yeah. I actually just pulled. Damn it, I can't find. Let me see if I have.
Because
I had a.
I have lots of we have lots of boo-boos in my art classes, and I
Oh,
give
here you
out.
go. Here you go.
I
Here you
usually
go.
okay,
So
yeah,
that's the. This is black construction paper, and this is the.
that's good stuff. Does it dry out? Does the pen does it get crusty or any problems, or is it just
No, no,
it's got an agitator ball? You just shake it up.
no agitator ball. It's just a ballpoint pen.
Wow.
You could
All
say it
right.
functions. I mean, the logic that I was searching for. This is a paint marker, Posco. I've been using these for a long, long time. Gel pens were another one that came out. Let's see any of my gel pens around. I just did a studio revamp, so a lot of things aren't quite not quite in my reach right now. Um, because I love working back into black with white ink. It's not erasing, it's not editing mistakes. There's even, white color pencil. So it's something that I find to be very important is to not just be so sensitive about black on white paper that, you know,
Well,
it's,
edge lines are so important, right? When you when you lose when you're hatching something and you lose an edge line, like the fingers of a fist or the edge of a face, next to the hair, you got to go
yeah,
back and put your edge lines in, right? Like it's just catching a little beam of light, that would be white so that you don't
yeah,
lose it, when things because one thing that masters do, in the comic trade is, they're not shy to darken in half a face, right? And just make it like,
yes,
half of it like almost a silhouette, but then you pull out the edge lights, you pull out the
yes,
highlight. And that's a thing that beginners just do outlines, and then you say, okay,
yes.
it's going to be go to a colorist. But if you're
Yeah.
working in black and white and you want to put a lot of interesting value on the page because it's not going to be colored, that's when you get into these styles of
Well,
rendering, like
I
Byrne, Hogarth, and Frank Rosetta. Yeah,
yeah, and then I teach my introduction to drawing is I give you a white piece of paper and a black ballpoint pen. And the whole idea is to just keep drawing until you build up all of those values, even up towards black. But, obviously it's a lot of cross hatching. And then when people go, oh, I don't like it. Oh, it doesn't look like the thing, when they have that adverse reaction to their first drawing, I then work with them to start looking into then what can be additionally added to it with white. And then that's where the white paint markers would come in. So then they're drawing with white back on top of the black
nice.
lines,
Yeah,
on top of the white pencils, of the white paper, excuse me.
right.
So, and the
And are
whole
you
idea,
tell
I mean,
are you
my
telling your
work,
students? Are you telling your students?
my
And by the way, the what these cool white pens are $2.69, and I have them here.
No, no, no. Well, they have to purchase all the equipment ahead of time when I do these workshops.
Yeah,
But I'll tell you right now, my last day of the workshop, I do an open feedback. Like I tell them specifically, look, this is my part of my career as an artist is to teach, and I need your feedback. And everybody says, I never thought I could draw.
right,
And the whole idea is then, getting into it. And then what I say, based on the school that I was teaching at is every Tuesday night is life drawing. And I
yeah, but
think
you
that's where you have to really put the challenge down in,
Yeah.
what you see in observation to what you make as mark making, and it's a huge difference. And getting back to what you were saying about blackening in a side of a face, it's the shapes inside the lines that are the most important. The outline can disappear, and once
Right.
again with white ballpoint pens and mark making that way on top of all of that, that ballpoint penness, that's when things start, creating shape for that and everything. So,
Right.
but look, we're coming up on we're at 55 minutes. But yeah, I
Well,
think
that's
one of the neat things about you and I working together again is previously 20 years ago, neither one of us were, well, I've always been in education since 92 when I graduated college. Actually, I was a teacher's assistant to one of my teachers, so for
yeah.
my senior year. So I've been teaching since 91, but both of us have an art educator's mind in assimilating what we're doing here. So, but we're not trying to teach anything per se. We're leading people into just pick up a pen and start drawing, start making characters. It's one of the reasons, Jake, I love the black and white indies.
Yeah.
This stuff, I think people would go, "Oh my lord, it's so poorly drawn." Like, look at this face here.
Oops,
I'm
I
sorry.
re-forwarded it.
There you go.
Yeah.
You
No.
know, but there's so much intention involved. It's so beautiful to me because if this person was so critical of themselves and I can't draw, all this bullshit that comes along with society telling you it's supposed to look like that, Marvel and DC telling you it's supposed to be like that. Fuck you.
Right.
Just draw it and keep drawing it. I think it's also one of the most awesome things. It's very frustrating, but now that we have social media and especially YouTube, I think YouTube is the best platform in really putting your stuff out there, just to have it out there. And
Yeah,
then if you
folks.
get a comment or say, I mean, it's good stuff, man.
Yeah, folks.
It's good stuff.
Folks should, you shouldn't also be intimidated to think you have to draw realistically or any kind of like
Yeah.
Marvel style. This
Oh,
is,
mouse. There you go. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
this is a very simple utilitarian comic,
Yeah.
cartoony style, and this won
Yeah.
every single award there is possible in the history of comics. And so, Mouse and Mouse too. Also, the same guy, his name is Spiegelman, put together an anthology called Raw, where they
That was a
do,
series. Yeah. Magazines. Yeah.
yeah, and they
Large,
do.
large, large print.
Yeah, they show a lot of kind of like alternative styles, some of which are really, cartoony and stylized and, even sloppy or neat. And, there's nothing wrong with that too, as long as, you have your visual language and as long as it's coherent, right? There's lots of different variations on that. And, certainly in the underground comic world, anything goes, but even just in small press, indie press efforts, you're not necessarily out of it if you don't do like this professional superhero style, right? There's lots of different styles, and
Yeah.
you got it's just
There's
like
your
you,
style. Your style is yet to be out there, and that's what I tell people too. You are the person that you should spend the most time with in figuring it out. I mean, copying is great. I'm totally into it and stuff, but at the
right?
same time, it's all to get to the same resolve. You have to be the next person that brings that to um, the visual
Yeah,
feast,
I got to
which is
say,
comics.
there's people who they just study one artist and they emulate them. And
Hmm.
there's something missing on that. I was at a gallery the other day. It was like an event space, and the art on the wall were these huge paintings. They were like covering the whole wall, maybe like literally like 10 feet by 15 feet paintings, and even bigger. And it was all done in the exact same style as Jean-Michel Basquiat, but
Yeah, you see a lot of that.
but it was like, yeah, I know, and because it's such a great style for people to feel free to use, right? It's like, it's like pop art, and it's not hard, right? But it could also be very expressive, and it combines, images with letters and all that. But I'm like, yeah, this is great. This is a great imitation, right? And I
Well,
just,
if you want to get to the origins of what Basquiat was copying, then go look at some Philip Guston and Cy Twombly. Those are the two heaviest influences that he had come out and said was what he was looking at. And Philip Guston is really, if you're into the deep arts of comics, is a linchpin between the abstract expressionist movement of the 40s and 50s that then move off into your conceptual and your minimalism. And he didn't rebel personally in like a solid, I'm factually not, I'm going to start working against non-representational, non-objective, but he just started making these cartoon paintings. And I'm not going to
yeah,
say anything more. I will put a link down below. There are phenomenal resources. Philip Guston is an American hero in bridging the gap between fine arts and commercial arts, especially comics at that. But
right,
Jake, I think we should just jump out. But I want to say this,
yeah,
and I think you'll agree with me. If you've made it this far in listening to us in this episode and other episodes, and you're enjoying what you're saying, what we're saying, and what we're doing, thank you so very much. We call you a turbo nut.
right.
But if you want to
Either that, or
critique,
you're
if
too
you want,
lazy to get up and
yeah. But if you want to get critique by us, draw a pin up. Just make a drawing of Turbo, and then send us a JPEG. Jake and I'll give it a look, and then we'll put it on our channel, and we'll give you a good amount of feedback and some direction. We're not going to rip you apart, so don't
reaction.
be
Yeah,
afraid. You know, but we would love to see other people's interpretation. And who knows what would happen from there. So I
any of
put
our
that out.
characters, any of our characters.
Yeah,
That that
any of them. As you're getting to know them, but let's say you're watching this video and it's 2027, and you've just gotten issue 3 of Turbo Pit Fighter,
right,
and you would like to get involved, that type of thing, because
giant
that's why we're
size,
doing what we're doing here. Yeah.
giant size number 3.
Um, we're in this till the end, and we do mean the absolute end, Jake and I.
Yeah.
So I have to say thank you very much for being with us, and we'll see you next week. Do you have anything else to add, Jake?
No, that's it. Just stay tuned for our breakout videos, and check our channel. You can see all the different episodes, including our Commandy series, which we're doing number 11 today.
Yes. And this episode will probably be dropping somewhere in January, because we've got a storehouse of episodes that we don't want you to ever feel like you're without a week of Kurt and Jake and
So yeah,
Turbo Pit Fighter. So
yeah.
thanks again, and we'll see you next week.
See you guys next time.